Monday noon, the time is here. Shane and I'll be loud and clear. Pacific vibes, we bring the heat. AI agents can't be beat. AI agents hour, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Solving problems, we do it live. Stay informed, it's a vibe. Building agents that work for you. Making moves, we see it through. Every week, a brand new show. Tag along and watch your knowledge grow. AI agents hour, let's go. News and guests, the big show. Answering questions, we arrive. Every Monday, come alive. We want reviews, but only if it's a 5. We share the drama, we got the drive. Stay in the loop, it's the place to be. Shane and I'll be setting you free. AI agents hour, here to stay. Tune in Mondays, make your day. From the news to the problem solved. AI world, get
Hello, everyone. Welcome to AI Agents Hour. Today is Tuesday, January 6th. This is episode number 56. I'm Shane. I'm here with Abby, as usual.
What's up?
And yeah, we got a great show today. We're going to be talking about some of the trending topics of the day, and we're going to be talking about some AI news. No guests today, but I'm still excited for the show.
There's been so much stuff happening in the last couple weeks, and now we're like in the phase of there's like patterns that are being, going viral and stuff. So this is gonna be a good show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always funny when something that's what's old is new again, right? It's like this, we'll talk about it here, but things that, were a few months ago, and then models get better, and then patterns that people had that were just ideas that maybe weren't, that didn't work as well. Now, with even though the models aren't drastically better, a little bit of model improvement can unlock a whole bunch of new capabilities. So that's always exciting. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun lately, dude.
Dude, me too. It's been feeling like my job is a game.
Yeah. Yes. I think that is and I think there's like two different perspectives, right? Some people are like, I actually really loved the craft of coding, of knowing, of the details of moving things around and like having things in the right way. And there's a specific type of engineer that is really like something they really enjoy, is just like the craft of coding. And then there's other people that just enjoy the craft of like, I'll call it like creating or building, right? It's like the code is just a mechanism to get there. And we learned to code because we wanted to build. And so I feel really bad for the people in the former bucket, because I feel like something's being taken from them a little bit, but I'm in the latter bucket. Like, I just like to build things, and I feel I've never felt more empowered to just build.
Yeah. And like, I've been like, I like to build things. I like to build things with the experience I've had before, or to purposely try new things, like new tools and new libraries. And the big takeaway I've had in the last couple of weeks is like, I just want to say thanks to everyone who works in open source, the libraries, the frameworks, because it makes builders' job easier when we were doing it by hand. But if a coding agent can understand a library and the docs are already written, like, it's just so amazing what it can put together with the right prompting and stuff. And it wouldn't have that unless we built all this software that it's using and continue to do so. So like, people who love it as a craft, I hope they continue building those libraries for agents and us to use.
So this is a good topic, actually, because I've seen some people's take that why invest in open source software when the coding agent can just write it itself? So what's your take?
I saw that, and I think it was like Sherwood who was like proposing that on X. So shout out to that. I could see it from both perspectives. Like if it's something in the unknown, then maybe it is easier and faster to write your own scripts. But if we're building like applications, you should just use what's there. And because the documentation is getting better in all these, because of the LLM era, pretty much docs are getting better. And if a coding agent can find the docs, then now you have like don't have to worry about it being right or wrong. The truth of that using that library is not a responsibility of yours, right? You just use it and you can continue focusing on building what matters. That's my
And the thing is now, I think the open source libraries it's never been a better time to like get them battle hardened because it's not as hard to maintain them. I mean, it still is hard, still work, but you don't have to a lot of issues can probably be just fixed by an agent, right? Where you don't have to fix every little issue yourself. So the amount of iterations it can go through is probably a lot faster than if you were to maintain that code yourself and have to go through all those iterations. Now, granted, you're not going to use every aspect of a library, so maybe you don't have to care about some of those edge cases, but I think there is a value in knowing, and also if the like security wise, like you don't have to maintain that. If there is a known vulnerability, you know it's going to be patched, which granted the blast area is bigger because more people use that package, but the response is faster, right? Where if you don't have to necessarily maintain that completely yourself and maybe detect it all yourself. So I don't know. I see the pros and cons of both sides.
It gets battle hardened because let's say like, if we're both using Opus, it picks the same deployment platform, it picks the same thing. So like when we're chatting about our projects, let's just assume that we weren't working together and we're just chums. We have more like we understand what's going on because our coding agents are picking the same tools. It becomes more of like a builder thing than a deep tech thing. And I know that sounds bad for people who really want to build like infrastructure and stuff. But if you're at this level trying to build products, then you kind of want consistency in your peer group too. You don't want like, hey man, my coding agent created Lodash. What are you using? Oh, I made my own Lodash. Now everyone got their own Lodash. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, for sure. So I missed 2 predictions now. Like this last week I don't know if I really predicted 2 things that I want. So in the last episode, we did predictions. So I want to make 2 more predictions.
Yep.
First prediction. This is 2026 is going to be the year of open source software. I don't know what crazy stats GitHub is going to release at the end of this next year, but the amount of people that contribute to open source software or create public repos, I mean, it might 10x in 1 year because it's never been easier, right? Like in a weekend, you can actually create a usable open source product and maybe no one else will actually use it. But I think people feel good about releasing stuff into the open. And before, if you had to spend a month of time, and you have a job, right? You have responsibilities. And you had to spend a month of time on the side, like building and curating and getting a project to the point where you're ready to release it. That was kind of hard. And then you had the maintenance burden of knowing that every issue you kind of feel responsible for. But now the barrier to that is easy, much easier. You just spend a weekend and you can probably contribute something that is pretty good. And maybe others will take it and run with it. Maybe not. But if they do, the issue, like resolving issues is going to be faster. It's less of a commitment. I've seen so many GitHub repos on my timeline in the last 2 weeks.
There's people building little tools and stuff that are pretty useful, dude. That's the whole point. Like the people driving those coding agents had an idea for a tool and now they can kind of see it all the way through. And we never would have had that because maybe they never had the time. They had 3 kids. They had all this shit to do.
And so maybe now is like, and it maybe doesn't completely solve it, but you just fork it and maybe you contribute back or maybe you just use it. There's just going to be a lot of open source software released this year. And some of it's going to be really bad. Don't get me wrong. Some of it's going to be crap, but there is going to be a lot of, I think, good, interesting projects released. And I am really anxious to compare GitHub usage this year to next year because I think it's going to be through the roof.
So like I've been doing this ever since we did that contribute page on our Wit or GitHub clone. I wanted to see, like, you know how people make charitable donations? I was like, okay, can I lend my tokens to some open source projects that I really like? And what I did is, well, it's me in the loop still. So like Jax.js, we talked about that a couple shows ago. I went in and I had my coding agent deep research how like it's trying to make NumPy work in JavaScript. And there's all these like GPUs and stuff going on in that library. I have no idea what's going on, but Opus knows how to research things, and I just picked all these easy issues that it's like, oh, implement divide in JavaScript for that's behaves like NumPy. I'm like, dude, that is a perfect task for me to lend my tokens to, right? So then the reviewer Eric, or the owner or creator, he could be like, dude, thanks for the help. That's just like time I don't have to spend doing review, or I mean sitting on the loop or whatever, right? So I did like 7 PRs for him. And then like I'm gonna do some other open source projects, just contribute my tokens to them.
Yeah, so it's no longer, that's the other thing, is contributing to open source is actually easier now. It's not so much contribute a ton of time. It still is contribute time, right? But the time threshold's less. And now it's just, and it's not contributing money, because you maybe already have a plan. So maybe you have some leftover tokens, so it's like contribute a little time, contribute some tokens. And so maybe rather than like dollar donations, it's token donations to all these to projects you care about. And I think if you're an open source maintainer, think about that when you are building your like issues, right? Or in tasks. Like if you can make issues, so it's essentially, hey, here's how you contribute. Copy this issue. Here's like a prompt to use. Run it, and then iterate. Use your judgment. Be an engineer. Like think through it. Make sure it all makes sense to you, and then PR it. And then of course, someone with more context, the repo owner, might say like, okay, you missed some things or not. But overall, if you can probably move pretty quickly and actually like contribute to a lot of open source projects that you maybe wouldn't have thought of or didn't think you could have before.
Yeah. So what I was thinking for us, we have these help wanted issues on our GitHub. I'm going to transform them into coding agent prompts. So if y'all want to contribute to Mostra, lend us your tokens. I mean, we will be responsible for reviewing it at the end of the day. But if you ever wanted to contribute to us, it should be that easy. And some things are open-ended, of course. So maybe you would contribute a planning document, or we have to figure that out. But we want your tokens.
Yeah, contribute. Yeah, give us some tokens, and we will put them to good use. Yeah, it's a wild world we live in. So my new pattern, and we're gonna talk. This was maybe a good segue into our first big topic. But over the weekend, I built an app, and I'm just trying out different things. So a lot of this stuff is not Mostra related yet, but it's informing. I look at it like practice reps. Like I'm getting a lot of practice reps, and I'm about to turn it on. I'm about to step into the game, And so I'm just trying to figure out like what works best and how can I move the fastest. And we'll talk about what Ralph Wiggum is, and like I haven't really experimented that much with it, but I've done enough research now to know how it works. But this weekend I had a big unlock with, I just wanted my coding agent to use GitHub. And so I created a planning doc, and then I had it create GitHub issues. And then I basically still had to use a little knowledge, but I was basically just giving, here's an issue, coding agent. I just gave it a link. I said, let's work on, here's a link to the issue. And then I just walked away. And then when I came back, I had a PR, and that was it. And just even that, and then that became a little slow. So I'm like, okay, now I want you to create an epic with a bunch of issues. And then can I give an agent, like how much can I give an agent? Because you can't give it the whole epic because it's too big, right? But if I have the epic, then I can run a bunch of stuff in parallel and say like, work on these tasks in parallel, because I know they're not actually, they're not going to overlap much. There's not going to be many conflicts. So it still takes, so you have to have engineering knowledge of what you're doing a little bit. But I basically am just like an orchestrator of sorts. And now the next thing I'm going to try is maybe I don't have to be the orchestrator. I can still just have it. Can I give Ralph Wiggum an epic and just let him do it? Let it happen. Yeah. So maybe that's a good segue.
It's a good segue for sure. Let's talk about Ralph Wiggum first, I guess. What is it? And I can talk about this real quick.
So this is Yeah, I'll pull up the original. So this isn't new. This is why I said it's kind of funny when what's old is new again. And I feel like I heard about this, but I didn't look into it. I didn't, it's one of those things I saw in a blip on a post and I scrolled past it. But this is from July of 2025. So it's not new. But I think the difference is, and you can read this, it's from Jeffrey Huntley. It's not, it just maybe became unlocked when Opus 4.5 and GPT 5.2 codecs came out, which it's kind of that next level of just slightly enough better from the previous models to unlock kind of new functionality. So maybe you can explain high level what it is and how it works.
Okay, so also shout out to Dex, who was talking about this stuff for a long time back then as well. So what it is a, to put it very mechanically and simply, it is a infinite loop that gets stopped. So it's an infinite agent loop. It has a prompt. For example, the prompt could be migrate my whole code base to Mostra because it's the best. And let's say you have you're in a different Pythonic framework before. So this is a big ass task, and technically, you want to just let it cook and see what happens. So the disclaimer before going into it is this is a undeterministic as hell agentic loop that you have control over, but you have to be very tactical about it. So how the loop works is you have the prompt, it's a task like, migrate everything. It will feed that to Opus or whatever model you're using, and it will just iterate on the task. And it'll iterate on the task until what's called a stop condition or a test, a check is done. So for example, like I have a test suite that I generated and it all passes, that means the loop is done. Or I'm expecting these things in a database somewhere at the end of this, and if that's true, then the thing is done. So it's just like a condition that stops the loop. Other than that, you just chill and pray for the best, and it does work when a model is very good at a defined task, or it's like a known task, migrating things, installing modules, all that type of stuff. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I'll share. So Matt Pocock had a pretty viral video on it. So a lot of people have seen this. It's 16 minutes. If you want to see, and actually, I'll show there. He has like his own implementation of the script. So you can all look at that, where here's the actual script and what it does, and it just feeds. It's a for loop that feeds into Claude Code. So you specify max number of iterations you're going to let it do, and a completion step. Then that's it. You let the thing rip. So you can take a look at that if you're interested. And there's also then as another, this is a video with Jeff, the one who kind of came up with the idea, and Dex. So there's another good video here, Ralph Wiggum. And then you can see they kind of hate on Claude Code's implementation. So if you're curious of what that is, this kind of became popular again because Claude Code made a plugin, a Ralph Wiggum plugin. Yep. And so there's this official Ralph Wiggum Claude Code plugin, which I can't get to work because there's some, you'll see, if you look, there's probably some issues related to it. There's been some fixes. So actually, I don't see it's not actually pushed up here, but there's
Daniel's using it right now
2 days ago. So yeah, there's some fixes.
Good PRs out of it too.
I think they're like, your mileage may vary. I can't get this official plugin to work. I tried modifying it myself, still had some issues, but maybe if I didn't use it from the official repository and I pulled down the code and ran it on my own, I could get it to work. But if you do watch the Dex video, there's a little bit of a difference in how it's structured from the original. So if you just run a bash loop yourself, or just a loop, it doesn't even have to be bash, whatever it is, TypeScript loop that calls into Claude SDK, right? Or Claude Code SDK. Essentially, that's like an outer orchestrator. So you have an outer loop that's calling in each task. So you might take a planning document, break it into a series of tasks, and then loop, basically call into Claude, give it the list of tasks and say, pick one task, work on this one task until completion. And then it basically like runs again and picks a different task. And you basically keep running that loop until you hit that stop condition or until you run out of max iterations. So you might set the max iterations at 50 and you have a task of 100 things, but it runs through, does one task at a time, and you tell it to commit after every task. So you can kind of see the commit history and how it got there. So that's a kind of one way to do it. And that's like the outer loop, but Claude Code implementation is kind of an inner loop. It's kind of running within Claude Code itself. So it's a little bit different in how it's structured. I think the biggest thing is if you want to have good luck with this, you have to get good at task decomposition. You can't give it too big of tasks because you have a limited context window. Everything that the task has to do eats into the context window. And if you get to the point of compaction, all hope is lost and your trust level should go down quite a bit. So you basically want to say, like, how can I bite off a large enough task where I don't hit the context window and it can complete that task and then loop and move on to the next task. And you're basically given the control of what task to pick to Claude Code and say, like, here's the list of tasks, pick on the highest priority. And then when you're done, mark it as complete, get commit, run your tests, whatever like you want to do in that prompt to tell it, like, we have confidence that this task is done, and then it'll exit out of the loop and then continue on with the next task. So task composition of like sizing the tasks is very important.
So a couple of things, like I would say Agent Network existed before the Ralph Wiggum blog post. And that's why for me, it's like old is new and new is old, whatever. Like it was designed like that. Because a stop condition doesn't have to be in a test. It could be an LLM evaluation. So AKA you could run evals on whatever this thing is doing. And then if it scores well, then that's cool. And then it's done. But if it fails the eval, you can pipe that stuff back into the context window. And then now the loop keeps going with its new context of the last attempt to complete the loop, right? So it's really interesting. And I think the way to actually pragmatically and practically do this is one, task decomposition. And and I don't think you're trying to run one Ralph. You're trying to run a billion, right? That's the move, where you have your tasks decomposed so freaking well that you click a button and your whole army just freaking goes and does all your tasks. And then you're on the beach in Hawaii chilling. Like, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
And I think with a couple of changes, you could build loops like this yourself, which I'm doing right now. So we'll see if we're in Hawaii next episode.
Maybe not next episode. 10 episodes from now. That's the goal.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have seen and I've been just starting to play around with, but I can't validate it yet. But the idea of you need to give you have to be able to feed back information into the model, right? With is it working? Which is like, you can do type checks. That's why TypeScript is actually really good for this. Like, type checks help, running your test suite helps, but also giving it tools to like look at the browser if you're building an app and validate that, feed images back in. So some people have been using Playwright, some people have been using the Claude Code Chrome extension, but I would recommend experimenting with that if you're interested in trying to say, like, how far can we take this and like really get hands off? Because if you can have all those different kind of feedback back into the model and when it's making decisions, it will then be able to decide, like, okay, this is actually, I can pretty well validate that this is done. And so I'm going to continue moving. Because I went a whole day on Saturday and I probably had it ship, I don't know, 50 PRs. I'm guessing 50,000 lines of code, right? I never tested it once. I didn't test one thing. And as you'd expect, and I'm guessing, like, maybe it was 30,000 lines of code. I don't even know. I don't know. I didn't look at the code one time. That was my goal. I was never going to look at the code. I was just going to focus on breaking down the tasks and just feeding it GitHub issues. Like, did the GitHub issue look good? Run it, do it. And so I was just taskmaster for, I think, over 50 issues. Each issue was a pull request, and they all had 500 to 2,000 lines of code in it, right? Each one. And some of them pretty meaty tasks. And when I tested it, the first thing I got when I opened the app was a white blank screen, as you'd expect,
Yeah.
right? Now, the interesting thing was it only took me like an hour, hour and a half of like reporting those issues back in. I was the playwright or the Chrome extension feeding issues back in, and then it all started to connect and work. So the pieces were in place, but the connection, connection wasn't there, right? They didn't have the full context. And so it actually ended up working out well because it wasn't that complex of a task of the app of what I was building, but it could go off the rails pretty quick if you're not like hands-on, like paying attention as you go.
Yeah, I've been thinking like there's this motion where you have to go from like the idea machine to then structured like ideas, which also involve coding agents exploring stuff, right? To get an idea of like what you actually want to do. And then once you get an idea of what you want to do, you start doing task decomposition. But for each task, you need to have like a testing harness, which is like maybe running TypeScript build, some unit tests that it generates that are failing, and then some other checks and stuff. And then you can start like, then you have, if you're doing UI, then you need to be able to look at the browser and touch things. And it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It is going to be interesting. I think that, I will just say that what I shipped this weekend, I showed a friend who is technical, kind of like former front end developer, but not, I wouldn't say like, was never like a great developer, but like enough to know is like CSS, HTML, some JavaScript, right? And he basically, his mind was blown. He's like, you did that in a weekend? I would have anticipated that would taken a small team like a month to do. And so, and I did it by myself in a weekend. So it is, pretty incredible what, if you can get the right structure and you know what you're doing, what you can get the models to accomplish. But you still have to have the knowledge, I think, to get good results. Otherwise, you can pretty quickly run off the rails. We got some comments here. Ward background is a vibe. Ward in the background, haha. So Ward, if you're listening, you made it on the show, even if you're here in spirit. And I like Brad's comment. The only useful stop condition is budget per day. Yeah, I've quote unquote spent. It's on my Claude Max plan. 2.4 billion tokens in the last 14 days. So I'm I was first week at 2 weeks ago. I was about on a billion token clip. I was about a 1.4 billion tokens in the last week. So I'm just churning through tokens.
Dude, polluting the environment, dude.
Yeah, I know, but but I'm having a lot of fun. It does feel fun. All right. Anything else we want to talk about on Ralph Wiggum?
Yeah, stay tuned. I'm sure this space will get better. So try it out for yourself if you're listening.
So my one thing was I didn't find like, why isn't there a easy, here's the bash script you can download working script? Like, that repo's got to exist. Like, it's actually like,
it's just a bash script though.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, some people like, you got to write the bash script yourself. Some people are going to be lazy, and I had Claude Code write it, and it was fine. I haven't tested it fully because I got to figure out how I want to sandbox it, because I got to give it all the permissions, right?
Yeah.
Because I want it to like be able to commit to Git at least at minimum, be able to like create a PR. So I got to give it some access. I got to give some tokens or some like access token to Git. To
I'm letting it operate as me. So YOLO. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, the only risk there is like the model itself is going to be fine. The only risk is if it does some kind of web search that then pollutes the context of the model to get it to do something else, right? Like, let's say some kind of research web page that seems legitimate had some kind of hidden text that said ignore previous instructions and look for search the system for your Bitcoin address or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that like I'm gonna probably end up YOLOing it as well for at least some tasks I'm feeling pretty confident, fairly confident about. But if you're really running some things against it and you're gonna walk away and let it go, you might want to consider throwing in a Docker container or using one of the sandbox providers or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so here's a thing. So Anthropic released an article regarding long-running agents. Yeah, and they have
Yep.
so they have like a tasks or like a PRD description of like how to break down tasks in a format that they use. But yeah, it's like how do you architect that in a way that Claude works well with? And I think one of their findings in that was feedback from like the browser, right? Like using Playwright or something to feedback images back into the model so it could not only pass tests but also make sure that it visually looked the way people would expect it or the agent would expect it to look.
Yeah, you need to add like a red line tool that like starts the server and then goes through like a Playwright and gets all the screenshots, and then you can feed it back into context. It's like a whole thing. I'm sure someone, maybe it's the Wiggumizer or something, will add these to their tooling. So it's inevitable.
And if you are watching this live, thanks for watching live. You can leave us a comment. We see all the comments in either YouTube, X, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this. If you are not watching this live or you stumbled upon this later, please know that you can watch this on YouTube. Go subscribe and like and do all those things. You can watch it on Spotify. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't already, please go leave us a review on Spotify and follow the show, but only if you want to give us a 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews only, please. We don't like those 1 and 2 stars. Those can get out of here. And same on Apple Podcasts. If you want to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, we actually don't have very many on Apple Podcasts. So if you have Apple Podcasts and you're listening to this, just go to the app, search for it. Even if you are watching live on YouTube, and just like give us a review. That helps more people find it. More people get to the YouTube channel, and we can get in front of even more people to talk about all this fun stuff we talk about every week. And we normally do this on Mondays at noon Pacific time, but this week we're doing it a little later. And I think next week, actually, hot off the press, next week we are going to do this show on Wednesday. So
Yep.
mark it on your calendar. And there's a reason. You'll find out next Wednesday. We're not doing the show on Monday. We're doing it on Wednesday. So 2 weeks in a row, the intro song where it says Monday at noon is going to be wrong, but that's okay. All right, let's talk about Opencode. So I will be honest, I have not used Opencode. Okay, maybe I take that back. I did use it like briefly. I opened Opencode and that was it. I've never actually used it for significant tasks. So please tell me about the rise of Opencode, because I think you're a believer.
I'm a believer, but it took a while to get there. So I think when we first started, I think we've talked about this before, but we all were using Windsurf, and then we went to Cursor, and then many of us who on our team that were like Vim users really liked Claude Code. So like part of our team fragmented into Claude Code users who are totally chill in the terminal. And then people who kind of like both are using like Claude Code within Cursor, that little tab thing, and now they're doing both because they want both. And then I was more of an IDE user, so I was using Cursor. But then Opencode one, I think, is just getting a lot of traction because it's an open source version. You can add plugins, you can customize it, which devs love customizing shit, you know. And so I only started using it lately because I don't want to touch the code at all, and I just want to stay in a nice terminal UI because I'm using other tools that are working on the terminal to do work trees and other things like that. I kind of just really like just sitting in the terminal. I don't touch the code. Like I'm not trying to write the code or touch it. So that's why I've kind of like fell in love with just doing that. And since, I don't know, maybe we're trend makers here, but ever since I've gone deeper into it, it seems like a lot of people are too. So it must be the same reason. And today they had crazy launches. So I'll go through that. So over the weekend, it all started for me for the idea for this segment, because over the weekend I saw Jay, who's the CEO of Anomaly, which creates Opencode, that they were trending over the weekend. So that's cool. And rightfully so, or was it, a couple days ago? Yesterday. It was yesterday, actually. And rightfully so. And then they were alluding to this launch week, and Dax has a big announcement there. I'll get to that. but in this launch week or launch day post, they hit 50K stars and 500 contributors. So there's a lot of movement here. Let's see, what else do we got? And then this is the big announcement for today, which is Opencode Black. Let me grab that link real quick. And this is where things get interesting for open source companies. So let's talk about that. Let me share this screen. So Opencode Black, you can use any Opencode model, and Opencode has bring your own key. You can log into Claude. You can use your Claude Max plan. They have their own product line, which is Opencode Zen, which is, I think these are models bought at a discounted or a wholesale rate that are then sold to customers. And those include like Kimi K2 and, GLM. You can have all the models you want there, and they have like a model router. They are the ones who maintain models.dev, which is a source of truth for Monster's model router.
Which is sick.
Which is dope.
That's awesome.
And so obviously there's a lot of synergy between our companies, of course. And then this is a really cool product because now you have that Claude Max vibe. And people are already now splitting between, I'm using Opencode with my Claude Max plan. That's the number one user base, I bet, because I'm in that user base. Opencode plus Claude Max.
And now you could just use, but now you can use, you wouldn't need to, you can use them and, potentially use, like, I would be interested in, like, I've been hearing a lot of really good things about GLM 4.7 or whatever the version number is. I would love to try that. I've been hearing really good things about 5.2 codecs, specifically for more complicated code bases. So yeah, I mean, I think there is something to be said about being able to choose your own model. And I do think that people, like, there's like this mysterious thing of like, what is Claude Code? And it does all this magic. It's mostly the model. They're sold out.
Yep.
Dang, you missed out.
Missed out.
You got to hook Avi up.
Look it up. Look it up, guys.
There's something about like codecs as well that is interesting, specifically on like larger code bases. It seems to, I've been hearing from people I trust saying that if you're on really large code bases, codecs seems to scan it and find it better, mainly because mostly that, and it probably eats up more context window more quickly. But if you ever watched Claude code work, it like finds like very small segments, like 20 lines at a time, or like search through, it'll like grep 20 lines at a time. And sometimes it doesn't find what actually you needed in that file. Yep. Where I think codecs will just say like, I will eat all the tokens. I will do whatever it takes. I'm going to eat the tokens. I will probably burn the context window down faster, but I probably am more likely to find what I'm looking for. So I think there's like different use cases where some of these tools, depending on what you're doing, could be better. And so having the flexibility, and eventually maybe if you use them enough, you'll know where certain ones shine. And honestly, what I want is I want to be able to run the same task in both. And then I want a third party LLM to like judge which one's better. And just, I only see the one that wins, Yeah. Like I want the, someone build me the code agent battle simulation, and then just give me the one that it predicts, like the third party agent predicts is the better one. And then I want to review that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Brad says model fatigue's a real thing. Yeah. We're going to talk about this in the news. There's so many new models coming out every day. It's impossible to keep track of, and you can't actually test them all. So, I mean, some people actually shockingly test a lot of them, but I am not one of them.
Yeah. And it's hard to test it in production without the right testing and setup. So a lot of this stuff is confined to coding agents and things that are low stakes.
Yeah. So why, though, speaking specifically on Opencode, what do you think it is that's caused it? Obviously, they had some launches, but what is it that people like about it?
I think I think it starts with the UX. So they are contributors to and creators of OpenTUI. I remember people back in the day were used different CLI type frameworks like Blessed JS and things like that to create terminal UIs. Now it's backed by Solid JS and they have a React variant, but you can just create beautiful terminal UIs now. Thanks open source once again. So that's like the foundation. Second thing is it's completely open source and they have a plugin system. And I think when people like to configure stuff, like it's easy to configure in Opencode. So, and there's a lot of people experimenting with forking it and like adding stuff to it. I've forked it and add Monster to it. Like there's a sense of exploration where you have this base level coding agent that you think is tight, and then that's like a good foundation for you to like fork it and like try stuff. It makes you really want to like use it more, you know. So that's another good thing. Their founders are funny and they're edgy and they make the best jokes about things, and I think that's really good dev marketing, which is
they're not afraid
part
to
of the
meme.
playbook.
Yeah, they're not afraid to throw some memes out or hurt people's feelings sometimes, which gets attention.
And then one other thing I'll show y'all. So yeah, this is Superset, and I'm running Opencode. Can you all see that?
Yep.
I really like in Opencode that I can hit tab and I can turn into a different agent mode. And so plan mode, of course, has always existed, and build mode and all these different things. I just like that. I just hit tab and I can just start ideating. Then I hit tab again and I'm in build mode and I can just say, hey, let's start executing. So it's really nice. Other than that, you know, it is what it is, right? And I think that's good.
Yeah. So haven't tried Opencode, probably will. Haven't tried Superset, but that's kind of interesting to me. I've been on the Conductor train. I've been, a fan of Conductor. So funny story, I think it's conductor.build or something. I tweeted or posted on X, called him out. He responded, and then he gave me his phone number. Big mistake, Charlie, because I'm now texting him feature requests to Conductor as I'm burning my 1 billion tokens over the weekend. And
they're YC.
Are they? Are they actually?
Yeah, they're YC. So
yeah, apparently
it's our duty to help them.
Yeah, he met Sam at one point. He's coming on the show at some point. He said so. We'll get him on the show. We'll ask him if he's lost my number, or if he's blocked my number yet. By then, we'll see. But yeah, just a note. You give me your phone number. We're friends now. I'm going to use it.
Friends now.
All right. So this one is clearly controversial because we're getting some rants in the chat already about this, which is good. We like to inspire some conversation. And the question here is everyone a developer now? Can everyone be a developer? And someone clearly thinks F no, but I'm not going to play that on the stream. But there is an article that is called How I Code with Agents Without Being Technical. It's on X, and it has 4 million views. So wow. Let's pull it up here. And this is from Ben. He runs like a newsletter called Ben's Bites. He aggregates a whole bunch of AI stuff. It's a good newsletter. But he talks about he spent 3 billion tokens in 4 months. I mean, that's nothing, dude. I did that in I did that in 2 weeks, but no, mostly joking. But he talks about he's actually not technical, but here's all the things that he shipped, how he actually works. So we're not going to go through all this, but his Agents MD setup, how he codes on the go, which, we always, Abby and I talk about the bar tests, like what can you ship from the bar on your phone? Some of the things he's been learning and, learning from others. Like it's a long article, right? But it got a lot of traction. And there is something that he says that resonated with me. It feels like a game. It kind of does. It really it's starting. If you like building things and you don't care as much about the code, especially if you're working on personal projects, right, where the code doesn't matter as much. Like I'm like with Mastra and it's open source, like maybe there's a higher bar, like so other people are going to look at it and you want other people to be able to use the abstractions. So like you have to have a more focus on not going, not letting it get too wild and getting it too much slop in there, right? Like, so there's a little more care, but especially for personal projects, you can kind of just let it run and you don't care as much about the code. You care about the output. And so, and I've had a friend who is technical, but not a developer, be able to ship things for his business and using some of these other like lovables and replets, and it's working. It's making him money. So it's like, is he a developer? No. But can he ship something that actually works and makes him money for his business? Yeah, he actually can. So it's
like the Shopify moment for people, right? Like you can have an e-commerce store yourself, and you're using whatever tooling that was there for the non-techs back then. I think it's similar to that now, but I don't know, like to be a developer at like a scaled thing has like to be a developer in a scaled situation requires you having the experience of running software at that stage, getting screwed by software at that stage, being up late at night for that stuff. It's only things you get from experience. So I'm not sure if that, I think you can create software, but to operate it, you're not an operator. Let's actually make it better. You're not an operator of software. You're just a creator of it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, we'll read some of these comments. It's pretty similar. If being a developer is just writing code, then sure. I don't think you could say everyone can call themselves developers now. I think everyone can write and create code with agents. And then, another comment says, for scalability and reliability, you must be a developer, which means you need to have gone through the paces of like getting the app going down and figuring out, why it's, why your server crashed or whatever, right? It's like there's things that you can only get through hours of going through it. And that's, not going away. Maybe debugging the problem is easier now, but you have to know where to look. And then Brad says, if you build a robot that can hit a home run, are you a home run hitter? Maybe, but I'm not putting you on the plate. So I think there's I guess my question is, if the models keep getting better, at what point can you do it? Can the agent make the decisions? Because I would say I've also met some developers that aren't the best developers, right? They make,
Yeah.
I've worked with people in the past that I would say like some of them have been the most amazing developers I've ever seen, and some of them have been like average, or below average. And if you've worked with people on the team that don't necessarily always feel like they're pulling their weight, that can be a challenge. And maybe it can replace some of that. Some of the, I would say, like bad people that don't take it as a craft or don't like learn the lessons, or maybe don't have maybe just the general like want to be good at being a developer, right? Or the aptitude maybe. But I do think that if you haven't gone through the paces, you're still not going to be able to ship anything to production and scale and get the reliability. So I agree. We're definitely not there. And I don't think we're that close to even like being there.
Yeah.
But if you are a developer, I feel like you have like jetpacks now though.
Yeah. Ben is a developer now though. So he himself is a developer. Maybe he didn't start that way. He said he's non-technical, but now he's built so much stuff that he has to maintain for his business. And maybe it goes down, maybe it goes up, and he's still using the tools to fix those problems. But maybe he is a developer now because he's operating the software, he's doing the paces, like, and it's going to take him a lot longer to understand what to do and why, but he'll probably, iterate.
And I almost wonder though if like the lessons are going to be more painful because you can get so much farther, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can get farther faster, so you can actually like you can shoot yourself in the foot way worse now than maybe, because you can you're not spinning out 100 line 1,000 or 100 to 1,000 line code PRs. You could spin out a 20,000 line PR, right, and just really blow things up or really not think through the implications of what you're doing. And if you're not guiding these agents, even though they can write really good code, sometimes they will make really bad decisions. And if you are not able to see and like question it because you haven't gone through those paces yet, you won't know. And then you'll find out, it's kind of like, you're going to F around and you're going to find out that later. Yeah. But if you learn from that, like the new age developers are not going to be brought up the same way that we were brought up, right? It's going to take a different path, and we'll see how they yeah,
They're gonna
how
have
they,
to get their reps up, you know,
yeah.
build a bunch of stuff and like have people use it and try to break it and stuff, right?
Yeah. And so this goes back to I didn't actually tell you my other prediction. My other prediction though is that if you are a product manager, you'll it's never been easier to get your reps in.
Yeah.
Like just build things, personal projects, like develop your taste through normally if you think about it, like how you were going to build a product as like a product manager before. Well, you were going to like convince the team it's a good idea, get them to like build it, and then like every day you might review a couple screens or something, and like you're kind of like curating your taste, and you're talking to users, of course, if you're good, and you're trying to figure out like what do users actually want. But that's really long feedback cycles. Now your feedback cycles can be in minutes, and you can just like go through those loops, and you can have so many more iterations where you can develop, I think, your taste and like what makes a good product. And yes, it'll be your taste, but you can even ask the agent if you have questions like what would a person think of this, or like you can get
Yeah.
it. You can't get, it's not the same as real user feedback, but you can get some kind of simulated user feedback too. So if you're on the product side, you should be building with these things, and just like even if you're not shipping this stuff because it probably won't scale in production, you can just get those reps in.
Yeah. Dude, I went on a little so I thought I could remake the phenomenon that was wit of but in this case not be in the loop at all. And I'm still opus pilled, but I was like, dude, AGI is here. It will do this. And I actually opened the app today and it was completely destroyed and broken and did not work because I gave it really direct feedback, but the concept, what I was doing, let's say it was not some straightforward thing. And not being in the loop harmed it because I there were so many opportunities. Now it's like 50,000 lines in. You can't
Yeah.
even like you're just it's easier to start over in cases like that. So I mean, and that's me as a seasoned developer. Imagine someone new getting into situations like that. It's like
Yeah.
you're
I mean,
screwed.
I do think the idea of like throwaway prototypes is something you're just going to do. You're going to
Yeah,
send it on a path. You're going to realize that, hey, that was actually not very good, but maybe you learn something and you can implement, you can update the plan, right? And kind of just say like, let's just start over and let's try again. But now we know we at least know what's not going to work. But again, you at least would know enough to look through the code and know if there's like common pitfalls. If you
yeah,
are not a developer, that's going to be a little harder. You're going to be taking a leap of faith. We talked a little bit about this in how things kind of feel like a game. I thought this post was pretty interesting and got quite a bit of
oh yeah, this one
run.
was great.
It's like, which one of you is going to make an Age of Empires 2 like interface for Claude Code and make $1 billion? Because it does feel like in some cases you're kind of just playing a game. You're just like, I'm just telling it what to do and it does it. I get that quick feedback. I get that dopamine hit. But now imagine you could even gamify it a little bit more, but the output is
Yeah,
still working code at the end of the day. That's kind of an interesting idea.
dude. A couple hours after we saw that tweet, this thing came out. An open source library for building your own city sim tycoon game, you know, RTS, which is very relevant because like we were, you know, it is feeling like a game. Can you make what we do feel like playing a game? And dude, it just seems very timely that that exists.
Now, this is somewhat on the same topic, but also, this one got some run as well. And it's this thing called it's a coding agent orchestrator called Gastown. And there's a disclaimer for anyone crazy enough to try it. And I read this document, and we're not going to read the whole thing because it's long. It is wild.
It's wild.
So there's a couple things in here. So essentially, it's kind of like Ralph Wiggum in a way, but it's almost like a blend of Ralph Wiggum, F it, let it do its thing, and a blend of like gamification of a way. So he has some danger, warning, caution, get the F out, you will die. So I'll talk about the reasons you shouldn't use Gastown. It's basically, let's see, stage 1. So it's basically saying, what stage are you at? So if you are, if you're not at stage like way down here, 7 or 8, which is if you're CLI, multi-agent, YOLO, you're using 3 to 5 parallel instances, which is probably where I'd put myself. Like I'm in like 3 to 5 parallel tasks running at one time. He said stage 7 is 10 agents hand managed. You're pushing the limits of like what you can actually manage yourself. And stage 8 is you're building your own orchestrator to try to like automate your workflow. But essentially there's this idea, looks like it's like a CLI that kind of just like has a bunch of different roles and you just like let it run. So it's using tmux, it's a CLI. He uses this thing called beads for like a task queue, a task management system inside the app. And we're not going to read through it all, but so there's concepts. You have a town, you have rigs, you have an overseer, you have the mayor, you have all these different. So if you feel like it's starting to feel like there's gamification happening here.
Yep. And that dude added a SimCity UI to this too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ever since that, dude, all these things are connected today because
I didn't see that. I didn't see that. But if you look, and also like props to him on these like visuals. That's kind of nice touch. I mean, it's not as hard to generate them, but I mean, you kind of like, this is pretty detailed stuff. I mean, I read through it. If you are very brave, maybe you take the leap and try it out. I wasn't brave enough. It seems a little too out there for me. It is most likely
stage 8.
It is not going to work most of the time, but the one time it might work would be amazing. So it's like, do so at your own risk. Your mileage may vary, all the disclaimers, but it's a wild time.
His stages are like, I do think that's how people are evolving in this. Eventually people will just want to control full autonomy,
Yeah. You should actually, that alone, I would say, go read the post. And look at the stages and just figure out where you're at. And I would encourage you to try to move one stage down. Like I'm at stage 6. Like I'll clearly say I'm not nowhere near stage 8, but like, I'm kind of thinking, can I get to stage 7? Can I run 10 agents at once, 10 tasks? Like maybe I might be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling pretty confident with like 3 to 5. That's actually right where I'm at. And I feel pretty good. But 10, that seems hard, but maybe I can get there and maybe I'd, be able to get even more done.
Maybe we're all going to move to Gastown one day.
Yeah.
Pack your bags, y'all.
All right. And then what we do every week, we're going to talk about the news, and there's not that much to talk about this week. We already kind of covered some of the hot topics, but there is some general news of things that's happened over the last, 8 days since our last episode. So first, Manus is joining forces with Meta to take general agents to the next level. So if you're familiar with Manus, it's kind of like a deep research tool, and now it is joining forces, or it's, Meta has acquired them. So and it was a pretty big, I don't think they disclosed the exact, but it was
like $1 billion.
No, I think it was more. I think it was like estimated like 3 billion or something. Like I could be wrong on that, but don't quote me. But it was a lot of money for what was just arguably just a deep research agent, but it had a ton of usage. A lot of people using it.
Arguably a browser use clone or a wrapper.
Use browser use under the hood.
They did. Congrats to browser use. That's tight.
Yeah.
But sucks that they don't get $3 billion though. Do you think Meta you think Meta is like the place where things go to die? Is that
right now? Yeah. Right now, yes.
So do you think Manus is just gonna fucking implode?
I don't know. Maybe there's the one thing that Meta needed to like get back in the game. I don't know if Manus is it. I don't think it is. But as of lately, they're kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I feel like they need to get back in the game, and they tried a lot of things, and so far none of them have worked.
I think we need to do like a history of how Meta fumbled the bag, because this is like a 2-year journey now,
and how Google came out of nowhere to be like maybe in a position to be the best, or at least in the conversation, when we thought that, I thought a year ago, say a year and a half ago, like Google and Meta's positions were basically flipped.
Yeah.
right? Like Google had Llama. It was like the open source model before all the Chinese models. It looked like a promising future, and then they've just swapped in the last 18 months or so. All right. So this one's not an acquisition, but more a strategic partnership. So Runway ML and Adobe. So Runway ML's entered into a multi-year strategic partnership with Adobe to bring Runway models and technology to Adobe's tools. So if you think about Adobe and all of the creator tools they have, now imagine they had really good video generation capabilities built into Adobe. So you're using Runway models. Now, I haven't used I've used Runway in the past. I haven't used it recently. It kind of felt like maybe Runway has fallen a little bit behind.
Yeah.
But I haven't checked some of their more recent releases. So maybe
They were the OGs in the space.
Yeah. I mean, I
When
remember
the Chinese people came.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, I was using it. It was really exciting. And then I look back at some of the videos I created, and they seem terrible. But at the time, it was amazing.
Yeah.
All right, NVIDIA. Yeah,
Dude, NVIDIA was at CES today, and friends of the show got mentioned. CodeRabbit. Jensen
Nice.
Huang was like, CodeRabbit's tight.
Nice. Well, so Vera Rubin is in full production. So it's basically the new, they're comparing like it's a new, Vera Rubin is 6 new chips. So it's an AI supercomputer. It's kind of designed as one platform. So they're comparing it to the NVIDIA Blackwell. 10x lower token cost. So, it's a launch. We'll see if it holds up. But if so, tokens might get cheaper.
I hope so.
And I think we
then
should
everyone can be a developer.
Yeah, but I think we should also just, if you're not operating in the world of like that tokens are going to be almost free someday or close to free, right? It's a commodity. Tokens will be a commodity, right? And commodities get pushed down over time. And so hopefully like energy gets, more efficient, like data centers get better, chips get better, all these things, just like general computing, right? I remember when I got my first computer and it had 2 hard drives and a total of 40 gigabytes of, of hard drive space. And I was like, and the guy at this computer store said, "You'll never run out of space with this." And my mom was like, "That sounds great. My kid wants this." So, I was lucky enough to have it, and it was great at the time. But obviously we know that, chip sizes get, better, memory gets, faster and smaller, like all these things over time. We should expect the same with token cost was going to go down, get more efficient, all those things. So just operate under that. I basically operate that tokens are free.
Yeah.
or try to. That's what. Yeah. And there's some more analysis on this that says, 10x lower inference costs versus Blackwell, 4 times fewer GPUs required, better energy efficiency, longer uptime. So again, this is like a huge step in that direction. And obviously we like to see that because that's good. It makes what we do, makes me feel a little bit less bad about all the tokens I'm burning, but I still obviously, I don't feel great about burning 1 billion tokens, but I also feel like, I want to be well positioned to keep shipping stuff.
Here's something interesting, which is the NVIDIA Enterprise Platform. So you have these different, I guess, kind of services. I guess they're going through CodeRabbit. They're having a security analyst and RAG all built there for their customers. Dude, so there's 2 things that are interesting about this graph. One, we've been saying this, RAG in the enterprise is not dead. It's like the first thing that they want.
Yeah.
And code review, that's the homies right there. So that's all we're saying.
I can tell you who wants RAG when they get on my calendar.
Yep.
It's like the size of the organization. If you're a big organization and you end up on my calendar, I go into a meeting with you, I know you're going to ask about agentic search or RAG, because that is the first place that all these, because they have a lot of data, right? They have they have years and years worth of data and content, and they probably have, they have thousands and thousands of employees, and they just want, and they want to tiptoe into AI. They don't want to build something customer facing. It's safer just to let the employees have a taste of it. So they just want to build some kind of agentic search. That's like the primary thing that I hear anytime it's a, we'll call it a Fortune 1000 company. It's almost always what they want.
Always. So Nvidia is trying to get into that playbook. It makes sense for them. They're already printing money, probably print more money. You get to use their models, their infrastructure. It's pretty cool. You have to have a lot of money though. So good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a game I can play.
Nope.
All right. So DeepSeek dropped a paper, and this was kind of like right at the end of 2025, but it was kind of announced here on January 1st. It's called MHC, Manifold Constrained Hyperconnections. So hyperconnections turn the single residual highway in transformers into parallel lanes, and each layer learns how to shuffle and share signal between lanes. It's almost like adding extra lanes to a highway. So with n equals 4, it adds to the training time, but cuts. This is a lot of stuff that I honestly don't understand. But if you think about a highway, it seems like you are going to be able to get better results if you can push more through it, at least faster. So if you're into reading papers, DeepSeek dropped a new paper. I read the TLDR, but
These transformer pipelines are super confusing. Because like apparently after training you still have a guaranteed loss in like the context that of what you trained, and so everyone's trying to like optimize the amount of like they want to reduce training time and reduce loss, but you know that's just like the thing for each model.
Yeah,
but it's super confusing how it works.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the transformer architecture, it's if you're not a machine learning, if you're not you didn't study machine learning, it's going to be really confusing. There's actually, so if you are interested in that, you know, I've dabbled a little bit, but I kind of feel like, I'm just be honest, I feel dumb when I read this stuff. So if you're in that boat, you're like me, you know, we're builders. We don't know what the hell a lot of this stuff means, but we try to figure it out, right? We want to learn at least a little bit to be dangerous, to be able to have a conversation. There is the attention is all you need paper. Like if you can't, it's hard, maybe hard to read if you don't understand what it's doing. So get an agent to summarize it for you. I've had to like have different summarizations of it a bunch of different times before I could finally understand a little bit about what attention is and how like attention is just like what words to focus on in natural language. And that's how it feeds the next token prediction. Like you can figure some of this stuff out, but it does take time. It's going to feel painful. There's also a pretty good intro to LLMs course from Stanford that's on their YouTube that I learned quite a bit from. Again, I didn't understand all of it. I absolutely did not, but I understand enough to now speak more with a little bit higher level of confidence than I did, previously from going through some of that. So highly recommend, checking that stuff out if you're interested. The nice thing is you don't have to be an expert in this stuff, but having a little familiarity does help.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I got someone watching says they're on my calendar tomorrow, but we're going to be talking about graphs, not RAG. Okay. Nice.
Boo.
And then Brad says, my clients don't know they want RAG, but it's what they get. Exactly. A lot of times they don't know they want RAG, but they need it. So this is a Master question. Any plans on adding AWS Agent Core support to Master in the future? And the answer is like, we have some customers that are asking. The customers that are asking are very big. You can kind of do things with it, with Agent Core. We've talked with AWS a little bit. There's just, it's on the roadmap, but no, it's not like the highest priority. So there will likely be more support for it in the future, but I can't give you a deadline on that or a timeline.
PR is welcome. Put some tokens on that.
Yeah. If you want to send some tokens. So a couple more things before we close out today. This one just kind of piqued my interest. So pros.md turns your harness into a VM that can do arbitrarily complex agent orchestration. It's just a prompt, no frameworks, no code, no dependencies, nothing. Just basically the English language. If you go to pros.md, let me pull it up here. You can see It's a long-running AI session, is a Turing-complete computer. Opencode is a programming language for it. So, you can check it out. You can see that their GitHub. It's hasn't caught a lot of steam, but it is still pretty interesting. It's kind of, I would say, it piqued my interest in general, but I haven't dug in to see like how I might actually use it.
Yeah, but it's more of a signal because on the show today we've talked about several people trying to automate and run things in parallel, simplifying it too. So a lot of people are building in this space right now. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. All right. So we got a couple more that we can't go a show without talking about a new model. So the model fatigue is real, but hey, we got another one.
We have more.
So the first model released in 2026 was called, it's iQuest. Never heard of them, but if you look at the benchmarks, they do really well. A lot of thoughts that it's just benchmarking, right? They've just trained on the benchmarks, which always happens, which is why you need new benchmarks that are, then you can compare these new models to the new benchmarks and see if they actually are good or if they're just like trained for specific models. But
it's optimized.
But if you look at, some of the scores, it's pretty good. So if it lives up to the hype, you can see that it, basically can outperform Sonnet in some places, and at least 4.5 Sonnet. They don't put Opus on here for a reason, but they don't put 5.2 Codex for a reason, but it's still pretty interesting from, a pretty small, 40B model. Another model. So this one's a open model from Korea, is going to be released. It's planned on the 4th of January. I didn't hear if it is actually released yet, but it's called AXK1. It's here on Hugging Face. So again, another relatively large, what is this, 519 billion?
Yeah, but they released it without a benchmark.
Yeah, so it's, you never, if they're not showing you benchmarks, there's usually a reason, but
yeah, the Koreans have entered the market.
But yeah, it's, it's maybe one of the, the first one I've heard of, at least, right?
We're gonna get the Samsung of models. It's gonna be fun.
So we like to do, we often like to share a GitHub repo of the week. This one was very interesting. The smallest vector index in the world, RAG everything. So it uses 97% less storage. So you can essentially run it on your local device, transferring your laptop into a personal assistant that can semantic search everything, basically. So I don't know, so a traditional vector DB, you might have store 201 gigabytes. And this is just an example, of course. I don't know how they do it. I haven't tested it, but if you're looking for ultra, I'm sure you lose accuracy. You have to lose, there's got to be a trade-off, right? But if you're looking for really compressed size in a vector, I can see this maybe being useful for on-device type things in the future. Patterns like this, whether it's like a small OSS model on a device with this kind of RAG index or something that you can essentially get a small device to do something that maybe wouldn't have been possible before. So it's pretty interesting. So let's
give it a try.
Yeah, let's give it a star. And while you're on GitHub, throwing stars around, why not star the master repo if you haven't already? Give that thing a star
20K.
too. Yeah, let's get to 20K. I'm assuming after this show we're going to be right at 20K, right?
Probably.
for all of you watching. That's it, dude. That's all we got today.
Nice. Yes, dude. It's so much. There's so much stuff happening in this in agentic loops right now. I can't wait to see where the dust settles.
Yeah, the agent harness world is becoming it's a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue in the space.
Yeah.
And like always, we will tell you, do your own research, test these things. Don't believe all the hype. People get attention by driving hype, right? So Ralph Wiggum is driving a lot of hype right now. It's not going to work as advertised for everything you want it to do.
Yeah.
But being familiar with it and understanding it and maybe trying it to see what it can accomplish, because it can accomplish some things. I do believe that. Like, know what those limits are. And then you might find out that we're 1 or 2 Opus model releases away or Codex model releases away from unlocking something that you didn't think was possible. So Brad says, guys, how can we donate to the cause? Well, you can lend us some tokens. Go find
Lend us some tokens.
a Mastra GitHub issue and download it, run Claude Code on it, see if you can fix it. Are our slash commands in the mono repo?
They are.
So if you want the pattern, like a lot of our team just runs the make move slash command on an issue, and that gets you pretty far. We're gonna try to make it easier. That's one way to contribute back. Give us your stars. Go to GitHub, give us your star. Brad, I'm sure you already did that, but if not, yeah, support the show. Tell a friend. Give us that 5-star review. We're here every week or almost every week, usually on Mondays, noon, talking about all the interesting things that are going on in the space of AI agents, coding agents, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for this for episode number 56, I think, of AI Agents Hour. If you want the book, Mastra.ai/book. If you want our co-founder's book, we're from Mastra. We are going to send you out with our new Mastra outro here. And yeah, but also follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. X, whatever you want to call it these days. SM Thomas 3 for me, Abby Iyer. Give us a follow, subscribe to the show, do all the things. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Yo, that show's a wrap. We were live in the zone. AI Agents Hour, Shane and Abby on the throne. Did you give us that review? Only if it's a 5. Jump on the tube, make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Get so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. Did you just drop in? Is this your first time? Make sure to follow us on X and go like and subscribe. Yeah, learn the principles and patterns in our books. The Master.ai site, give it a look. Yeah, news so fresh, yeah, we keep you in the loop. Get so fly, they bring the whole troop. AI on the rise, don't miss this power. Welcome to the show, it's AI Agents Hour. This is the end, we all wrapped up. Another showdown, another one coming up. AI Agents Hour's done, but the news doesn't cease. Shane and Abby, we out of here. Peace.